star hosting.
He's enjoying himself. Vintage, yum.
Hors d'oeuvres, Mr. Hollingsworth?
Pass. Here we go. Showtime.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Dying is easy. Comedy is hard. But I seem to be getting ahead of myself. Oh, God, you're a dreary bunch. Places, please, places.
Oh, must we?
Not even a chuckle, Hugh. You know, people laugh loudest when they're most frightened. By rights, you should be killing yourself. Now, this is just a paragraph, but I want to run it by you because it's quite pivotal to the book. The story so far. Our hero, Dominic, has encountered a minor devil who calls himself Brad. Brad offers Dominic the usual temptations: sex, wealth, fame, and especially the power of life and death over others. By the end of chapter 4, Dominic has succumbed. Good Intentions, a novel by Sebastian Tombs. Chapter 5. Lights, please. Dominic stared at the sunlight on the ceiling and examined his inner self. Shouldn't damnation feel different? Shouldn't the loss of his immortal soul have provoked a sense of dread within himself? Dominic thought about his job.
Sebastian?
After all,
No,
you are a
something's not right.
non-entity in
Turn on the lights.
publishing business. How bad could damnation be? That bitch Stephanie would do anything he wanted. Brad had promised.
Murder call, Central 10, standing by for VKG.
Go ahead, Central 10.
We have a deceased at this location. It appears suspicious. Could we have Central Detectives on the crime scene at 10?
You must ask me this.
What's that, doorbell? Answer it, Constable.
So what do you think, Alan?
It's unusual.
You rang?
Yes, well, welcome to the House of Horrors. Apparently the deceased wrote that sort of stuff.
Who is he?
Sebastian Tombs.
Should that mean something to us?
Yeah, it should. His latest book's a bestseller, Steve.
I've got a fan here, have we, Constable? Put yourself to some use. I want a close-up shot from this angle here, thanks.
It's the publisher and the cleaning girl. His agent is upstairs trying to calm the wife down.
All right, all yours, Imogen. Although I suggest the knife in the back might be a clue.
Oh, well, thank you, Lance. I'll bear that in mind.
Who found the body?
No one did. They were all here when it happened. And wouldn't you know, they're all innocent. Anything, Fisk?
Well, apart from the obvious, I'd suggest he was struck somewhere near the balcony. Staggered one, maybe 2 steps forward and has fallen in this position here.
Sebastian started the tape, turned the lights off as usual. We heard him collapse, realised something was wrong. When the lights went on, he was dead.
How long are we talking about, Mr. Hollingsworth?
A matter of seconds, certainly less than a minute.
And you think that the killer entered from the balcony?
Well, what other explanation is there?
Could you explain to me, with these book readings, why did Mr. Tombs turn off the lights?
Sebastian had a sense of the theatrical. He always put each day's work on tape. If he had an audience, he played it.
Is that what you were doing here tonight?
Business. I'm Sebastian's publisher. There's a possibility his latest book may be picked up by a major Hollywood studio.
Would that be lucrative?
Millions.
This was the break we'd all been working for. The future would have been a gold mine.
The lights had just been turned out. There was a commotion. I couldn't see anything. But I heard him yell out and then I heard him fall.
And what did you do?
Nothing at first. Mr. Toombs liked to play spooky tricks. He got really upset if anyone spoiled his games. But, someone told me to turn the lights on, so I did.
What sort of work do you do here?
I clean the place 3 days a week and, if there's a do on, I do the food and the drinks.
When the lights went out, did you feel anybody moving around, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, they all were. They were getting drinks and that. But don't ask me where anyone was. I told you I couldn't see anything.
Well, there's no sign of anyone having come over the railing.
You'd have to be a human fly to climb over there.
There's always the roof. But cat-like figures descending from ropes with exotic knives stuck between their teeth. Realm of fiction, really, isn't it? Mind you.
Look, I'll slot the autopsy in first chance tomorrow, all right?
Okay. Thoughts?
Well, he's really only got the one stab wound. There's no other sign of injury.
Fairly juvenile.
I can examine it for you if you like.
They're all props from Sebastian's previous telemovies.
Oh, I've seen them. All of them. Fantastic.
I haven't read the last book, though.
Hell's bells. Have a copy on the house, Constable.
Oh, excellent. Thanks.
Mind on the job, Constable, mind on the job. Follow me.
This is the book that Hollywood's interested in?
Yes.
My sister's in shock. She's in no condition to answer any questions.
Perhaps you can answer a few.
Yes, I was out here earlier. Sebastian's lighting effects were getting on my nerves.
Could you give me an exact time?
Just before Hugh Hollingsworth arrived.
So, that wouldn't have given the killer much time to position themselves on the balcony, would it?
What? You don't think it was possible?
It's a difficult climb.
It is possible. Well, it's already happened. This apartment was burgled 2 weeks ago.
It was a display of medieval weapons. Props from the film Richard the Dead.
Ah, that's one where the King's Ghost wreaks revenge on the...
Thrill a minute, was it? Good. Did Sebastian report this?
Of course. There was no sign of a break-in, but the balcony doors weren't locked. The police thought that's maybe how the thieves got in. See? It's happened once. You saw what killed him.
Yeah, did you recognise the knife?
I'm sure it's one of the weapons from the collection that was stolen.
You didn't mention that, Mr. Hollingsworth.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Good Lord, more hilarity.
Sebastian believed in laughter the way some people believe in vitamins. Lots of little laughs.
Joke, eh?
You're missing the point. You were supposed to get the shock. Sebastian always got the laugh.
The police report on the break and enter at the deceased's apartment verifies Abigail Easton's story.
You know, maybe it was a setup, and we're meant to think the burglar came back with one of the stolen weapons.
Follow it up, find out where these people were when it happened. Now, the man had money. Do we know who stood to inherit?
Yep, the wife. But, apart from the cleaning girl, they all had a vested interest in keeping him alive.
I don't buy this killer on the balcony theory. Neither does Fisk.
Which means that someone in the room committed the murder and the other three people just didn't notice. I don't care how dark it was, I've got a little bit of a problem with that.
Well, maybe they were all in on it together.
They'd promised him chocolate and taken him to the railway line. They'd held his arms and dangled him over the bridge as the trains rushed below.
And even at 5 years old, he had understood this. They laughed because they could. Control or be controlled. It was his lesson, his catechism. He knew they were all planning to kill him.
What?
He knew they were all planning to kill him.
was one of his jokes. Even after the lights came on, just for a second. Then I realised.
How long had you and Sebastian been married?
Not long. About 5 months.
Could you tell us a little bit about him?
He was a wonderful man. Before you say anything about the difference in our ages, it wasn't a factor. Because we were in love.
Did he have any enemies at all that you know of?
I suppose there were people who were jealous of his success. The people close to him loved him.
When the lights went out, exactly where were you?
I was on Hugh's left. But I had to adjust to the darkness. And someone brushed past me.
Do you know who that was?
No. Well, it could have been Hugh or Jilly, the maid.
OK, Jilly, did you spend a lot of time alone in the apartment?
Yes. Yes, I did. Mr. and Mrs. Toombs trusted me.
Why?
Be yours?
Well, you said you'd only been working for them for 4 months. They hardly knew you. Why would they trust you?
I don't know. I come from the country. I was knocking on doors for cleaning jobs and Mr. Toombs gave me a break.
When Mr. Toombs turned off the light, you say that you were by the bar, is that right?
Yes. As I got rid of the tray, I hit someone on the way with it.
Do you know who?
Don't know, could have been Abigail Easton. When he went into his routine, I moved over to the bar and got myself a martini.
And you didn't move from there at all?
Not until the lights came back up. Poor Sebastian. I didn't really see him as a client. He was my friend.
But you're his agent? He paid you commission though, didn't he?
Not in the early days. It took me over a year to find a publisher willing to take the risk on Beasts at Borneo. That was Hugh Hollingsworth.
How did Sebastian meet your sister?
Miranda was doing some work for me at the office.
Did you approve of the marriage?
They seemed very happy. Sebastian was a caring, loving guy.
The lights went out. I groped to the bar for a refill, walked into someone.
Do you know who?
I thought it was the girl, Jilly.
Do you mind telling us the details of your contract with the deceased?
There is no contract.
Did Mr. Toombs have any enemies?
None that I knew.
Any problems?
Oh, he had a new wife who was in love with him. His latest novel is second on the bestsellers list. Does that sound like problems to you? He would have found a solution to the Hollywood thing.
A solution? What was the problem?
Well, it's a major studio this time. We're dealing with the big boys. I got the impression Sebastian thought Abigail might be out of her depth.
Well, database has got nothing on any of them. Upright citizens all.
What about all his complaints against the victim?
Noise pollution, hardly surprising, considering the way he carried on that fun house of his. What about the break and enter?
Well, Mrs. Toombs has an alibi for that morning, but the agent and the publisher don't.
What about the cleaning girl?
Well, she was right there in the apartment. The investigating officers reckon she must have been upstairs when the weapons were stolen.
Oh, the virtue of hindsight, it's all a bit sus, isn't it?
Well, it all comes back to motive. Why would you kill the only person in the world willing to give you work?
Well, the girl had a key. Maybe she was in cahoots with somebody who had a motive. So, check her boyfriends, associates, and her banking details.
Hey, this one's different. It's a noise complaint like the rest, but the woman claims she witnessed a violent argument at the Toombs apartment.
What?
Yeah? Miss Coleman, I'm Detective Vance. I'd like to ask you some questions.
About what?
The complaint you made to the police about 6 months ago regarding the apartment across the street.
Oh, come in. Close the door, please. He's dead. I heard it on the radio.
Yeah. Did you know Mr. Toombs?
Only from magazines. We had body corporate meeting about the noise. We sent letters to him, which he ignored. He was arrogant. On the telephone, I complained. Police came, but did nothing.
Could you tell me about the argument that you saw in his apartment?
Oh, him and some woman. Shouting on the balcony. She threw something down into the street. She could have killed someone. I went down. It was a computer.
This one, would you recognise her if you saw her again?
With these eyes, nay.
And he didn't use a name when they're arguing?
No. Why are you asking me these questions?
Thanks for your time, Miss Coleman.
Righto. No, I'll get back to you. Okay, bye, Mel.
Anything?
Besides the fact that Sebastian Toombs wasn't a popular neighbour, no.
I'd say sensory deprivation would be an asset in this neighbourhood.
And a decent set of earplugs.
Oh, that wouldn't have been enough. I lived next door to an aspiring rock band once.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me something about your private life?
Tootsie's ready for us.
Yeah. Would I know the band at all? Do I... Names? No.
He was stabbed once, penetrating the heart muscle. Given the angle of the blade, it's a slightly overarm strike. Death would have been almost immediate. It's fairly straightforward.
So the killer would have come up behind?
No, not necessarily. The other scenario is, for example, the killer faces Sebastian, then reaches round with a poniard, strikes him in the back.
Yes, given the angle of the wound, it's very possible.
A poniard, Fisk?
No, Hayden, poignard. It's unlike the stiletto, which is a long, thin blade designed for concealment in, a sleeve or a boot. It's actually an ancestor of the plug bayonet. You can see the...
I'm fine. I get the point.
Your husband had an argument with a woman on the balcony of his apartment 6 months ago. A personal computer was thrown down onto the street. Was that woman you?
No.
Do you know who it was?
No, I have no idea.
And, your husband never mentioned this to you?
He, well, sometimes they were fans. Perhaps this woman talked her way in.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have mentioned it to me if he thought it would upset me.
Maybe she's telling the truth.
Yeah, maybe they all are. Then again, maybe it's a conspiracy.
Hey, I'm not sure if this is relevant or not, but this is the book that Hollywood wants, right? Hell's Bells. It's about this guy who gets involved with two sisters. He doesn't love them. In fact, he despises them. One's an airhead bimbo, and the other one's a pathetic career girl. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, but that's fiction.
Yeah, okay, but 6 months ago there was that argument on Sebastian's balcony and the computer got trashed, right? I'll read this.
Magdalena was raving at him, cursing her sister. Deep inside, he rejoiced. That cool, confident business mind was
out of control, and he had achieved this. He was the puppet master. They were his dolls. He felt a thrill of anticipation. How far would she go? Magdalena snatched up the Degas statuette, turned to the window and hurled it down onto the rocks below. Now he was satisfied. She was his creation. She was capable of anything.
Yes, I did have an argument with Sebastian, but the computer was an accident.
What was the argument about?
I plot my clients' careers. I hold their hands. Sometimes I yell and scream at them. It's a volatile relationship.
In Sebastian's last book, there were two characters, Maria and Magdalena. They're sisters. Were those characters based on you and Miranda?
Authors do that all the time.
Not very flattering in this case.
Those are fictional characters.
In the book, the man has a relationship with the older sister. He strings her along and then dumps her for the younger sister. Is that fictional?
All right. There was something between me and Sebastian.
Why didn't you tell us that before?
It's ancient history. Frankly, I was relieved when it ended. Miranda was perfect for him.
And did throwing the computer off the balcony help you to feel relieved?
It was an accident.
You still haven't told us what the argument was about.
He'd gone to the printers to make changes to the proofs of Hell's Bells without informing me or Hugh Hollingsworth.
And why the computer?
It contained the draft of his new book. I was being melodramatic. I lost my grip on the computer, it went over the edge. I felt stupid. Fortunately, Sebastian's work was salvaged. Telling the police. Next time, I'll put you through the wall.
You sure about this, Tessa? So, he was using his books to torment the people closest to him. That's a little bizarre.
Bizarre does not cover it, Fisk.
Sergeant, just out of interest, how many books of his have you actually read?
None. No, sadly, I seem to be cursed with the burden of good taste.
I've read a couple of tomes in the past. They're quite a good read.
Doesn't surprise me in the least, Imogen.
Hey, Fisk, those tapes from Sebastian's apartment, we have those, don't we?
We do indeed. Sebastian Tombs reading from his unpublished work, you know?
Yeah. Do you think I could get a copy of them? I want to listen to the earlier chapters.
The police are interviewing us one by one, trying to find discrepancies. We have to stick to our version of what happened. Present a united front.
Suits me.
Good. Well, perhaps some coffee all round. Thanks, Julie. Now, callous as it sounds, we have to talk business. Too much is at stake. We'll have to decide on a writer to finish Good Intentions.
Well, I've given it some thought.
And I think I should be with you when you talk to the Americans about Hell's Bells.
Hugh, I don't need anyone to hold my hand.
Excuse me. First things first. Jilly? This is 4 weeks' wages in lieu of notice. Are you sacking me? After last night, I wouldn't feel comfortable having you in the apartment.
For God's sake, Miranda.
Now, Sebastian's estate, including his work, is mine.
Of course, and on your behalf.
And I'll make my own decisions, thank you. And as soon as I've decided about publishers and agents, you two will be the first to know.
Come on in, Miss Lonsdale. I'm Inspector Thorne. Now, why did you wish to speak to a detective?
Got some information.
Take a seat. So, go on.
Mrs. Tombs sacked me tonight, and I'm really scared they're going to try and blame all of this on me.
What makes you think that?
There were things going on. Bad things. Mrs. Tombs and the publisher, Hugh Hollingsworth, they were having an affair.
Are you prepared to make a formal statement?
Will I get in trouble for not telling you this before?
This alleged affair. Did Sebastian Tombs know about it?
Sebastian knew about everything.
No. Can't we knock?
Thought you had nerves of steel. Not so scary. Sorry to disturb you, Mrs. Tombs. We just have a few more questions.
This is ridiculous. It's the middle of the night.
Well, we can do it now or tomorrow at homicides. It's entirely up to you, ma'am. Did something happen to the doorbell?
Oh, I had it changed this afternoon. Grieving for your husband doesn't mean you have to pretend you shared his sense of humour.
So things weren't that perfect.
What's this about?
We received some information. Is it true that you were having a relationship with Hugh Hollingsworth?
It's a lie. I can guess where you got it from. I never liked Jilly or trusted her, just for the record.
On the 19th, Jilly came back here after she'd done her morning cleaning because she'd left her jacket.
And she saw Hugh and I coming down from the bedrooms.
Did she also tell you he was drunk?
No, she didn't.
He'd been to one of those lunches and came looking for Sebastian. I took him up to the bathrooms to clean up his act. That's all there was to it.
Did you mention this to your husband?
Of course. He was amused. You can be a bit pathetic sometimes.
Good Intentions, a novel by Sebastian Tombs, Chapter 3. Brad manifested. He grinned. There was certainly something demonic about the teeth. I got you what you wanted, didn't I? You wanted the old master and servant fantasy. The next thing you know, the cleaning girl's giving herself to you like a common whore. Brad eased some wax out of his ear with a long fingernail. Once you've got their secrets, you've got their souls, and anything else you fancy.
So what's on the disc?
Sebastian's unfinished novel.
That's what you broke in to steal, was it?
I had a key and I wasn't stealing it.
Really?
Miranda's been behaving like a fool, wanting to make all the decisions. The book has to be finished by a professional writer. I have to publish it.
So you stole the disc?
Oh, for heaven's sake, who was I going to cheat? You can't steal a Sebastian Tombs novel. It's no good without his name printed all over the dust cover. Miranda would have thanked me.
What's your relationship with Miranda Tombs, sir?
What?
Were you having an affair with Miranda Tombs?
Did Miranda tell you this? It's a lie.
Mr. Hollingsworth, there you are. In the course of our inquiries, we searched your car. Now, we found this bag in the boot. Is it yours?
No, I've never seen it before in my life.
Oh, well, that's that then. But what about the contents? Do you recognise this or these? You see, these weapons and other items in the bag match what was stolen from the Tombs apartment 2 weeks ago. And guess what? One of them was used to kill Sebastian.
Pretty impressive, aren't they? And the stolen weapons.
But that's confirmed, is it?
Oh, yes, they belong to our victim. They're not antiques, they're replicas. They're expertly made, they're fully functional.
Could storm a castle with this lot.
Any prints?
Yeah, 1 or 2 on the weapons. They match the victim. Have to see what the bag can tell us.
No, I did not steal those weapons. I did not put that bag in my car.
Sir, you've already admitted having a key to the apartment and no alibi for the morning they were stolen.
I haven't opened the boot in weeks. Wouldn't surprise me if Sebastian planted the weapons there himself.
Why would he do that, Mr. Hollingsworth?
So that at a time of his choosing, he could point the police in the right direction and have me hauled in and humiliated like this.
That's a little far-fetched, isn't it, sir?
Sebastian's practical jokes were legendary. He'd set them up over months if he had to. He had a vicious and destructive sense of humour. The only thing that mattered was that he was the one laughing. My client has already been more than cooperative, Detective, unless you're intending to lay further charges.
All right, that'll do for now, Mr. Hollingsworth. Thanks for your time. You had access and opportunity. All we need is a clear motive.
You know, I can't help feeling that we've missed something at the apartment.
Don't let Fisk hear you say that.
Sebastian was into games, right? Practical jokes, manipulation.
Yeah.
There was something that he wrote in one of his books. Once you've got their secrets, you've got their souls. Just go with me for a minute.
Right.
You press a doorbell and you hear a banshee scream. Is that funny?
Maybe.
Okay, you pin a butterfly to a card and watch it die. Is that funny?
No.
I think Sebastian was into butterflies.
Poor Hugh. Like you care. Oh, he's made a fool of himself again. It's a bit more than that. They found the weapons.
It's clumsy of him to leave them in the car, wasn't it?
Nice.
I think Hugh actually brought it. Are we friends?
Depends.
I want you to continue representing Sebastian's books.
Now we're friends.
Sebastian hates rock music.
Let's have some. Role of grieving widow suits you.
Ooh, a rich grieving widow.
What's wrong?
I'm sick of nosy neighbours, that's what's wrong. You want something to complain about?
Detectives, come in.
Let me guess. Just a few more questions.
That was an awful lot of noise. No wonder the neighbours complained.
It was an accident. I'm still finding out how things work. Sebastian kept his tricks to himself.
The disc that Hugh stole, when can I just have it back?
Well, I'm afraid that's evidence. We'll need it for a little while yet.
You do realise it's the only copy of his work in progress. Hugh wiped the original so that you couldn't take it anywhere else. You'll be accountable for that disc. For God's sake, at least have a copy made.
Excuse me, has this mask collection been here long?
Ages. Sebastian loved it.
The weapons were found in this bag. Do you recognise that at all?
I've never seen it before.
You, ma'am?
Sorry.
But there were no video cameras in the apartment.
Well, Jilly would have noticed it if it was a permanent fixture. I think that Sebastian set this whole thing up as a trap.
Well, there's all kinds of fetishes, I suppose, but filming somebody vacuuming?
Wait for it, it gets better.
Ah.
Finding the money's no crime, but keeping it...
Roll that back again. I want to look at the bit about the money.
There you go.
Now, he's testing the honesty of the hired help.
Yeah, except that he didn't fire her.
No, he kept the tape.
Blackmail.
Did he blackmail you, Jilly?
Yeah.
There's no date on the tape, and he said that he could take it to the police anytime he wanted to. Unless what? Unless I had sex with him. Whenever he wanted. He knew how much I hated him, and that was the turn on, hate.
Is that why you killed him?
I didn't do it. Who did? I don't know.
All right, Julie, look, we've found the stolen weapons in Hugh Hollingsworth's possession. Now look, if you were working with him, now is the time to come clean.
Okay. I lied about the burglary. Okay, but that is it.
Are you saying you took those weapons?
No. But I think I might have let the thief in.
What do you mean you think?
I was moonlighting. I was getting paid by the Tombs, but I was cleaning the apartment next door, and I left both of the doors open so I could move back and forwards. And I think that the thief just walked right in when I was next door.
Why didn't you tell this to the police at the time?
Well, I couldn't take that chance. Sebastian could have decided it was time to get rid of me, or he could have shown you this tape. But I didn't kill him.
No, he didn't just manipulate people, he actually celebrated it.
Okay, so he put the people he knew in his novels and humiliated them. It's pretty harmless. I mean, who would know?
Well, they would. You know, he was pretty harsh with Miranda and Abigail in Hell's Bells, and then his next book, what is it, Good Intentions? Here we go. Chapter 3 spells out how the cleaning girls blackmailed into having sex, right? Chapter 4 features a man in the publishing business.
Hugh Hollingsworth.
Yep.
Brad perched on the windowsill and cleaned his grimy nails. They seemed longer in the twilight. What are you bitching about? You wanted fame. I gave you fame. He dully glared at him. The book's a fraud, so is the author, and I published it.
Okay, stop that.
So basically, Sebastian used his books to say to people, I know what you did. He rubbed their noses in it, yeah? So if that's true, and Hugh Hollingsworth did commit literary fraud, he'd be ruined if it was found out, wouldn't he?
You'd think so.
Brad showed his teeth. You know the answer to that, sonny. Don't get caught. Demons lie, Dominic reminded himself. The fruits of damnation were getting harder to enjoy.
The book is supposed to be based on a 19th century journal. I didn't know it was fraudulent when I published.
When did you realise it was a fraud?
When it was too late.
Why didn't you go public? Admit you'd made a mistake.
Looked like a fool instead of a cheat. But I've been ruined either way, Detective. Damned if I did, damned if I didn't.
So is that why you really stole the Good Intentions disc, to edit your secret out of those early chapters?
So Sebastian's death was quite fortuitous?
Yes. But I didn't kill him.
The only thing we were lacking was a solid motive. Now, I believe we've got that, so I want him charged.
No, hang on. For him to get away with this without the others knowing, everything had to go right for him. Is he that lucky?
Nobody's that lucky. We might have a room full of accessories to murder. Everybody wanted Sebastian dead. Look, I want him charged. Let's just keep things in perspective. Keep things in perspective.
So the killer would have come up behind?
He was using his books to torment the people closest to him.
That was an awful lot of noise. No one of the neighbours complained. Got something?
I need to have another look at the physical evidence.
Well,
hang on.
Excuse me, sir. I've marked that passage for you, Tessa. It's near the end.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, our problem with this case has been motive. Who had a reason to kill Sebastian?
Once we waded through all the lies, they all had motive.
Yeah, exactly. Sebastian has been the link. He generated hatred in all of them. Now, we've been seeing this whole case from Sebastian's perspective, which means there's one point of view we've missed.
Something unpleasant had to be done, and soon.
Yes, well, it appears that this crossbow has been rested here on the balcony. A weighted, unflighted shot in the dark. That is some shot.
You must have been good. Biathlon's a tough event. Cross-country skiing and expert shooting.
I should have got rid of the trophies. But then what would I have left? I never made the Winter Olympics. The accident.
Now, I presume that there is a night sight for the weapon.
Thank you. Tell me, how did you manage the theft?
I watch them. I know which cars they drive. I know when girl comes to clean. When she is in other apartment. I use the elevator. I am not helpless.
And you knew what you were looking for?
Pictures in the magazine. His house of horrors. I watch. Last night, I see the publisher drive in late. I put the bag in his car.
Miss Coleman, why would a woman who's made 15 separate complaints against her neighbour buy one of his books?
I didn't. He sent it. After I complained about the noise, he turned that laughter on and off to torment me. He telephoned me to ask if I was enjoying it. Then, he sent me the book.
I've read the ending. The old woman is tormented into killing herself.
Yeah, he marked the chapter. He was threatening me, you see, how it would be. So I knew I had to do something. It was a great shot, eh? I like to think I killed him in self-defense.
Flogging your soul to the devil. Give me a break.
Watch it, Steve. Devil loves a challenge.
I can't see your problem, Hayden. The devil only asked for a fair exchange.
Oh, yes, I might have known whose side you'd be on.
No one would accept a deal like that.
Yes, but how can you say that, Steve, until you've actually been tempted?
Are you saying there's nothing you'd sell your soul for?
Well, you're supposed to resist temptation, aren't you?
Ah, everyone has a price, mate. Everyone.
Not me. I'm on the side of the angels.
Oh, he's on the side of the angels.